Hello and welcome to 2-Point Perspective Instrumental Drawing. I'm Stuart McEwing, and today we've got some very special drawing, one of my favourites in the introductory series. We're at part 4 right now. So we've got this circular wheel, or maybe it's a donut, and this sort of clock looking thing we got here. And of course the layer of complexity that we have today, that we're adding, is these arc or circular shapes which we're going to put in. Now we're going to have a lot of lines on the page today, so it's really useful to have a really nice sharp 2H pencil, and that's really important that we have the different sort of line weights, a guideline and a presentation line, so that we know and can trace the lines across the page. Right now we've got the plan up here of the wheel and of the clock looking thing, and the picture plane. We have the station point right down the bottom, the elevations for each, and corresponding with that the ground line and the horizon line, so we know whether we'll be looking slightly down upon the wheel and at, but only very slightly down on the clock. Let's just call it a clock. So let's get this engine fully drawn. We see here that this is on a 45-degree line, so from the station point we're going to draw up with our sharp 2H pencil towards the picture plane on both sides. You can see that the page is arranged very nicely there, so that the vanishing points are not off the page. So it's the left hand vanishing, right hand vanishing point, and the left hand vanishing point. You get so those are our vanishing points. To get the true height, we will extend this line towards the picture plane, and that will be our reference for our true height for that wheel. We'll label this one. Labeling becomes more and more important when there's more lines on the page. So the two types of lines that we want as we turn on the projector and start projecting across are guidelines, which I like to say are light as can be, so light you can barely see. We should barely be able to see these, and I'm doing my guidelines a little bit extra darker than I maybe usually would, so people can see them on the screen on the actual projection. So this wall here, receding back into the background to the vanishing point, is this wall here, which recedes further and further away from the picture plane. Let's find the crate of that wall. So all this will be familiar to you doing this, and I could draw the line all the way up there, but to reduce the amount of lines I'm just going to go from the observer, the station point, to that corner and to find the intersection of that picture plane. Our other type of line is our presentation line, which is strong but fine. And you won't see me doing any presentation lines until I've done all of my guidelines. So once again, that presentation line is strong but fine. So here's the crate of the front part of the wheel, and I'll just finish off the crate for that by taking these back to the right hand vanishing point. Now, as I mentioned before, a sharp 2H pencil is my pencil of choice. You can go harder. No reason why you can't go harder. So a 3H or a 4H pencil. So with this line here, I'll complete the crate that we have here. So we see the crate coming in here of that, so that donut or that wheel is going to fit inside that, and we'll see that third dimension coming back to the right hand vanishing point. Now the reason why we wouldn't want to use anything softer than a 2H, say an H or an F, definitely not a HB or a 2B, is because when the T-square is going like this, it's going to take all that graphite and smudge it all the way over the page, creating a very dirty page. And we'll have to keep going back and have to sharpen our pencil all the time, which is what we don't want. We don't want a messy page. We don't want to sharpen our pencil all the time. So 2H. Now, because I know that's on a 45 degree, to find the center is relatively simple, like that. So that's the center right there. I need to find that center in order to divide up this wheel. At the moment, I could easily find on the projection points, say, let's call it 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. But that's not so useful when we're doing an arc. We need some more reference points. So I'm going to take my compass, inscribe an arc at this radius, let's get it the right radius. My compass may be a little bit blunt. That's a nice arc I have there. I'm going to divide up this wheel. So I'm dividing it up like a clock, or perhaps like a pizza with 12 slices. So I have 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9, 10, and 11. There's nothing wrong with the labeling your drawing. So right here I'm going to divide up this circle as well. So this is the line. Is a little bit hard to get around because the camera is in the way, but because I put in too many, I'm going to see that this is 12, so this is my 12 line, which will make that 1, 2, and 3, 11, 10, 9. So those numbers there will correspond to that there. In addition, 2 is also 4, and 1 is also 5. 11 is also 7, and 10 is also 8. 12 is also 1. And having those labelled, I can take these back on the 45 degree. And that's the bell, meaning it's time for class. And I have to pause this demonstration can come back to it later. But there we are, we have the curve of the wheel with those lines indicating where that curve is. Okay, I'm back, and I guess there was a small jump in the video there, as I had to go away and teach. But we're back, and we're doing this 2-point perspective. Now all these lines, as you can see, that if we put all these lines together, there will be a lot of lines going through our drawing, mucking up our page. And why do the whole line when you only have to do that little bit? So these will give us the various depths for the projection of the front part of this wheel, as you'll see as it comes together very soon. So I'll drop these parts down. So this is, sometimes you can label them. I'm just going to label them with a small circle. Which they'll be useful to demarcate them later. But right now I'm just going to drop these down onto the projection. Take these points across from the elevation onto the true height line, and they will effectively, they'll bounce back towards the left hand vanishing point. So just like that. So I'll take it to the take them all to the true height line at once. Sometimes it's useful to do lines individually, so to take it, to bounce it back, but of course it's always going to be quicker to do them all at once. So when time and efficiency is your main goal, do it efficiently. But when accuracy is your main goal, you probably want to do this, and when not getting confused is your goal, then you can do them one at a time. Now I like to demarcate these intersecting, so that 12 comes across to the true height line, goes back to the vanishing point and through the line, which was 12 and 1. So there's 12 down there and 1 down here. I guess it should be 12 and 6. And 6 right there. Yeah, so those lines intersect on that point in our projection right there. So that's 12 and 6. 1 comes across. That one and that one. Just small dots help my eye to see that curve coming around. We've got 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock on the other side. 3 and 9, those are the easy ones to find because they're on the edge of the crate. We've got 4 and 8. 8 o'clock and 5 o'clock, which is missing the line. Which is right there. So with those, I'll be able to form the curve. Now there's 3 ways, I guess, to do curves, and the best way is to do it with a flexor curve. Now, having not got my flexor curve, they're those long blue plastic or rubbery things with I guess it's sand inside them. That's the best way to do a curve because your pencil is pressed up against the flexor curve like a ruler. The next best way is to do it with a set of French curves, but that's annoying. So if you've got a steady hand, you can press into that paper and you can visualize going around. You can look ahead at where your pencil is going, to go through those lines and to create a fairly accurate circular. I went a little bit off there. That's alright. That's a pretty good circle in perspective of that. So I'll go back from let's put in that third dimension now, as that goes back to the vanishing point. Now I don't want to cross too much of the area around here because that's where my clock object here will be going as well. So I'll just make sure these lines are going back to the vanishing point, but at the same time I'll take them all the way back. So each point of that clock I'm going to take back so I can do the curve at the back. And although 6 o'clock will be obscured, I need 6 o'clock to be able to tell where my curve is going. In the same way I also need 11 o'clock, which is right there. That's 2 and 4. That's 1 and 5. That's the back of 12. And 6. That there is 7 and 11. So these points come down. They'll intersect these lines coming back. Got that point there. 12, which will be the top point there. 1 and 5. Which is here. And here, 2 and 4, 2, 4, and 3, which is easy because it's on the edge of my plane. So here we are, that line that's going around, 5, 6, 7, check that one. 7. Alright, missing a line. And 6, missing 6, 12 and 6. Okay, so now I can see that circle coming around. It's behind the object. Now out in front, doing a hard presentation line as I come around there. Small line going through here, a light line coming through there. As it reaches the top, then there'll be the presentation line coming around. I'm always looking ahead. So my pencil went a bit wonky there, but that's what you get when you're doing it freehand. So that right there is our circular wheel. And lest you think that it's finished and it's just all too delicate and too many lines to navigate, still haven't done this inner wheel, so I'll just go ahead and do that inner wheel as well. We'll need the compass to once again do the inside of this wheel. And that's the time. The time is running short, and we have actually run out of time. That was the bell. So I have to get back to teaching now. So I will continue this when I get back from the following lesson. Perhaps it will have to be next Wednesday. Alright, I'm back after a short break, ready to do this, I should say a short break for me, really just a moment for you. Here I'm ready to, almost ready, as I pull these lines up, I see where the curve of that wheel comes along on this angled line, and then I'm going to do the same again with the as before, only this time it's a lot smaller. So as I said, it does get a little bit messy when we start to get a lot of lines, so labels always help. I'm going to mark these with a square, that with a square. Let's see if I can get in there. So it's always useful to use the sharp 2H pencil to make a dot. That's the last square. Comes down, intersects with that line there. There I have a dot. May not be able to see that dot, but that dot is there, and it's going to illuminate my mind. Now on that same line, to the middle one now. I've got my dots in there now. Let's do this so that you will be able to see a teeny bit more clearly. It's a slightly fuzzy image. So I draw this line around. And if we want to be really complicated, we'll do the back of this curve as a dotted or slightly faint line, and we'll do the second donut hole on the back side and link them up. So we'd see a sort of transparent perspective figure. I'll just do this with an ink pen to do those presentation lines. Get that. Distinguish that line nice and clearly. Again, you'd want to use a flexicurve or preferably French curves. If you've got a steady hand and are brave enough, you can ink this curved line. It's much easier to do a curved line following the arc of your hand than it is a convex line like this. Of course, you could also always turn the page around. As you see, this perspective is not quite beginning at the ground line, and that's because it's not quite touching the picture plane. Remember, our true height was back here, which made that invisible part of the wall and this wall. So there we have the invisible part of the wall and that wall, and we see the which forms the perspective donut or wheel. I'm going to do as quickly as I can, so I might just fast forward through this as I try to get that done. First thing I'll need to do is to divide that up. And make a second true height line. This is for convenience. True height number 2. I'll just go through this dividing up this wheel one more time, as since the last time was a little bit of a fudge. So just find the center. Do the semicircle. Goes around there. This one, just using the slide rule method. Basically just using set square as a T-square now for my ruler. So that's a 60-degree line, when that is 45. Just have to move the camera because the camera's in the way.